Welcome to our first discussion about sorting array. In order to easily can follow our discussion, you need a basic understanding on array, for loop, and if statement. We are going to tackle about the bubble sort. In our left side of the screen is the IDE. We're going to use the code blocks. On the right side of the screen is our algorithm. So, let's start to discuss our simple visualization on array data. The yellow box was our pointer, and it will compare the first element and second element. And if we can see in our algorithm, if our pointer is greater than our next, and this algorithm will run. And so if 6 is greater than 8, it was false. So in this line of data, 6 and 8 didn't swap. So it will compare the first element and the second element, or the next element, the next of 8. So 6 is greater than 5. It was true. So in this line of data, or the graph of data, 5 and 6 was swapped. So it will compare the next element again. 5 is greater than 4. It was true. So in this line, the 4 and 5 was swapped, and it will check the next element again. The 4 is greater than 7. It was false. So in this line, the 4 and 7 didn't swap, and the red box was the data that was already compared. So the old data was compared, the pointer was moved in index 1, and the 4 was turned to blue, that this line was, it will not to compare again, and it is the default data of index 0. Then 6, it will, so next we will do the loop again and compare and use this if statement. And 6 is greater than 8. It was false. So it will compare the next element. 6 is greater than 5. It was true. So in this line, 5 and 6 was swapped. Then it will compare the next element again. 5 is greater than 7. It was false. So in this line, 5 and 7 didn't swap, and all data was compared or turned to red. So the pointer will move in the next index 2. So it will compare again. 6 is greater than 8. It was false. So it will compare the next line, the next element. 6 is greater than 7. It was false. So in this line, 6 didn't swap in 8 and 7, and so 7 and 8 8 and 7, 7 and 8 swap. So in this line, the 4, 5, 6, 7 was sorted. So let's make our first, let's make the code. In our algorithm, step 1 is start, then step 2, create int size, create variable int size equals to 5, then r size and I, and next equals 0, then pointer. So let's try to type the step 2. Int size equals to 5, r size, then I, next equals to 0, then pointer. Then step 3, display enter array elements. Print if enter array elements. Then in step 4 is a for loop. I initialize to 0, repeat step 5 to step 7 while I is less than to size. Then step 5, display array r value of I. Then step 6, set value ri equal to user input. Then step 7, increment I by 1. So let's type the step 4. For loop I is initialized to 0, then I is less than to size. Then step 7, increment I by 1. I by 1. Then print if r presently to I. Scanf r I. So this loop, the function of this loop was to ask user to input 5 times, to input 5 times, because in our condition I equals to 0, then I less than to size, then our size value was 5. So we assume that this loop will run 5 times. So let's try to run this code, to test this code. I forgot to put a new line. New line. Okay. Oops. Yes. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. our code was working. So let's move our next step. Oh, let's try to check our elements, our data of our array. So let's make another for loop to we can enable to check our array data equals to 0 because we're gonna get the index 0. So let's start I equals to 0, then I less than to size, because the size 5, because our array size was 5, this size. So let's use the variable size to get all the data, then I plus plus. Okay, then print f %d, then r, then I. So let's try to test our code. Six, 8, 5, 4, 7. So 6, 8, 5, 4, 7. 6, 8, 5, 4, 7. So our code was working. So let's try the next step. The next step was step 8, another for loop. I initialize to 0, repeat step 9 to step 13, while I is less than to size minus 1. Then step 9, pointer initialize to 0, I, another loop, for loop. Next, initialize to pointer plus 1, repeat step 11 to step 12, while next is less than to size. Then step 11 is the if statement, our pointer is greater than to our next. Then create variable and greater equals to our pointer, create variable and place equals to our next equals to greater, our pointer equals to less. Step 12, increment next by 1 and loop. Then step 13, increment I by 1, then end loop. So let's try to make this 2 loop, the step 8 and step 10, step 8 to step 13. I is equals to initialize to 0, then I is less than to size minus 1, I plus plus, then pointer equals to 1 equals to I mean, then for another for loop, next equals to pointer plus 1, then next to size, then next plus plus, then end greater equals to r pointer, then n plus equals to r next, r next equals to greater, then r pointer equals to less. Okay, that's all. So this loop, this first loop, this function of this first loop was to change the pointer value. So in our example, the pointer was the yellow box. So the first value of ri, because pointer equals to I, then I equals to 0. So our pointer was pointed in index 0. So this is our index 0, the value 6. Then it will go to this next loop. This next loop was to check, is to, oh, we forgot the if statement. If statement. The if statement was r pointer r next. So this next loop was to check this function of this loop was to set the next value. This is our next value, the next of our pointer. The next was, because next equals to pointer plus 1. So this is our pointer, then plus 1. So the next was the index 1. And the next line 21, was our if statement. This if statement, the function of this if statement was to check if the pointer is greater than to less. So let's try to, the pointer was equals to next pointer, our pointer was 6, then our next was 8. So 6 is greater than 8. It was false. So it will move in the next loop. This will not run because our condition was false. So the next value, the next value was increment by 1. So our pointer was 6 and increment by 1, this next equals to 2. So index 2, it will check the index 2. 6 is greater than 5. 6 is greater than 5. So it was true. So this code will run. The int greater is equals to our pointer. The our pointer was 6. Then this is 6. Then r less was r equals our next. So less was equals to this next. The next equals to 2. Index 2. So this is our index 2, 5. 5. Then our next equals to greater. So the our next was changed to value of greater 6. So we assume that this index was 6, then our pointer equals to less. Our less was equals to 5. So we assume that this index 0 was updated, the element equals to 5. So in this line, 5 and 6 was swapped. So that's how this loop was working. So if this condition become false, then the I was increment. So this I equals to 2, equals to 1, I mean. So our pointer is equals to 1, because our value of this variable I was equals to 1. So our pointer value is equals to I, then the I is equals to 1. So our pointer was moved. So that's what was happened in this line. The yellow box was moved in index 1. The yellow box was moved in index 1. So this is how loop was working. Then let's try to check our code. Let's in this step 14 was the display update array. We forgot to finish our algorithm. Print f update array, new line, update array, updated then for condition, repeat step 16 to step 17. Display value array, and this is all. This loop was to display all data, all elements of our array. This loop was function to display the elements of array. So let's try to test our code. Six, 8, 5, 4, 7. Updated array 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the data, the elements was sorted. So our code was working. Then let's try to view how the elements was swapped. So let's add a new line, a new code, a for loop in this line. Print f for empty t equals to 0, then t is equal to size t plus plus, then print f %d %d r t. So let's try this. Let's test our code. Six, 8, 5, 4, 7. 6, 8, 5, 4, 7. So in this line, 6, 8, 5, 4, 7 our default data. The 6, 5, 4, 7, this is our, then it will check the next data, the next element. 6 and 8 was false, then 6 is greater than by 5, it was true. So this 5 and 6 was swapped, then 5 and 4, 4 and 5 swap. So this is how our code was working, how the elements was swapped. Then 5, 8, 8 and 6 was swapped, and the last data was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's all, and thank you.